Thank you, Ron, Murli, and Ali, for giving brief overview of what we covered since this morning. Now that we have understood all the technicals and how the Bedrock and what are the LLMs are doing, let's look into some of the use cases, how the other financial companies are using it, and at the end, we have a demo. So my name is Prashant. I'm one of the SA here, focus on enterprise migrations. Babu, you want to introduce?
I'm Vaibhav Shah. I'm also a senior solutions architect here with AWS. Here around 4 years and have been working with enterprise FSI insurance customers, and I've been focusing a lot on GenAI since its augment.
All right. So this slide, next slide. Yeah. This slide, just giving you a brief overview of how financial institutions are transforming using our AWS AI and ML services. So every year, the leading financial companies share their journey at the reInvent. And if you look at last year, in 2023, we had Sun Life, Verafin, and the NatWest Group shared their journey, how they are using AI ML services into their corporate and how they are taking their proof of concept into the next level. The reason to share them at the big stage is so that other financial companies can embrace the technology and use it in their use cases. Now, in this slide, the look into like how financial companies are using traditional AI ML services, and also they are using the combination of the new generative AI into their use cases, and also few other companies, financial companies, are directly using the Gen AI. So if you look at down the left side, we have traditional AI classification. If you look at examples, we have customer onboarding, where we automate the onboarding process by using the classification models to verify the customer identity. Then we have algorithm trading. Everybody is aware of what trading is. People make money. We have ML models where we analyze the market data based on the previous history, identify some of the patterns, and make augment decisions, potential to generate high returns and reduce the human bias. Then we have credit decision, where the customers apply the credit and wait for their approvals. And we have models to predict the credit worthiness, determine the loan approvals, and set the interest rate based on the data. Then we also have the predictive customer churn, where we have classification models to identify customers who are at the risk of churning, and proactive intervene, where we improve the customer satisfaction, right? So those are some of the examples on the traditional ML. And if you look at in the middle one, we have combination of traditional as well as the new AI services, right? Some of them would be again the loan processing, right? Where we leverage natural NLP process and the computer vision to automatically extract and process the data from unstructured documents, wherein we streamline the loan approval process, right? Then we have financial crimes, which includes the where we have models to identify suspicious activities, right? It could be detecting the fraud or assisting with compliance, or it could be enhancing the effectiveness of anti-money laundering, right? Then we have call center intelligence, where we analyze the call transcripts and provide the real-time insights of the service and the customer agents, right? Then we have data extraction from an unstructured text, right? Where we develop models to extract only the relevant information from the unstructured data sources, such as financial reporting or the legal documents. And if you look at on the right side, we have the new generative AI, where some of the new fintech companies and the FinOp companies are directly using it. So a few examples could be personalized messaging to the customers, right? Where we leverage AI to create highly customized and relevant communications to each customers, wherein we improve the customer service. The other one would be virtual assistants for data visualization, right? Where we empower analysts and underwriters to generate the policy for insurance holders, right? Automate the process. Then we have search and summarizations, where we develop AI models to help analysts and underwriters quickly find and summarize relevant information. So objective of like giving so many examples here is like there are few companies still using the traditional AI ML models, and the few embracing the both the traditional as well as the new one, and the new startup and the unicorn companies are using the both AI one, right? And this slide is giving you the use cases of AI ML, which are like still going strong. We have financial institutions. Why? they increasingly use this AI ML is primarily because one is a cost effective because it's a pay as you go model, and easy to use because you can integrate with your existing architecture on the cloud with the private link or using the endpoints. And also it's scalable, wherein you can expand to multiple regions and multiple easily, right? So few examples here where again on the customer experience side, if you look at it, we have KYC, which is know your process. Every year bank sends an email or a text message to identify who you are, right? And we can include the chat box to help answer the customer questions and requests more quickly, right? And customers can also use the MLs to enhance their call centers, right? By transcribing the conversations into text and then running NLP on it in a real time to extract insights to understand why the customer is calling as well as the customer sentiment, right? In terms of like personalized recommendations, the asset managers and the wealth managers are leveraging ML to create personalized investment portfolios based on the individual goals, geographic locations, as well as their other milestone, right? And then insurance companies are leveraging ML and telemetry data from the customers' cell phones to offer customized insurance rates based on how people actually drive. For example, I have a Allstate insurance. I have an app on my mobile which is called as a DriveWise, right? And if I don't have any accidents in last year, and if I'm driving safely, they usually give the points which can go back to my billing, right? So insurance companies are using those kind of apps wherein they're tracking the drive and giving itself. So we have models on that one, right? And in terms of like document processing, and which is where most of the insurance and financial companies are using, right? We wanted to extract the key information from regulatory filings and the corporate actions based on the previous one. Why we do it? In order to process the loan document or the claim processing, right? And then automate email routing, right? I like example of my use case is like 2 weeks back, I took insurance from Nationwide, and it was so back and forth, emailing all the documents and everything. Right? It's not automated, right? Because you go from one person to the other person, right? Now, insurance companies are using ML models to automate that insurance process, wherein you go from start of applying the application and till the end, right? Underwrite, like sending an automated email, right? And next, you have predictive analysis, where we have customers using MLs to make better decisions based on the investment portfolios. Or it could be incorporating sentiment analysis on news and social media feeds, as well as image analysis of imagery and a drone footage as a part of their investment process. The last one is a fraud detection, and it includes your anomaly detections, payment credit frauds, or it could be regulators and exchange leveraging ML to identify any behavior associated with market manipulation or insider trading or an email, right? Classic example would be TravelX, where they use the money transfer and use ML for anti-money laundering systems. This slide is overview of a different level of expertise. So we have pre-trained models wherein you can just use that model for your use case, or you can select a model and then train it with your institutional data and go for it, right? So I'll give an example of a pre-trained model, right? Wherein a Blue Wine, which is like a loan company, during the COVID, we had programs from the government like a PPP and other, right? There are so many people who applied the loan processing from the government, right? So Blue Whale used leveraged our one of the models to speed up that process and approve the loans to only the selected people who met their criteria, right? And the other example could be on the right hand side, where we have Amazon SageMaker, which is an end-to-end ML platform where you can train the data and then fine tune it, right? So Institute, which is a well-known suite for the tax product, used a SageMaker to develop an expertise called Expense Finder, which scans through a person's bank statements and identifies the business expenses, right? And the most compelling part here is ability to reduce the deployment times, right? So either you can use the trained model or you can use the model to train it with your institutional data across your use case. So those were the use case, right? So if you go to the banking across the ML, right, we have use cases across the banking, we have use cases across the payments, we have use cases across the capital markets, as well as the insurance companies, right? So let's look at the use cases across the banking. And I'm not going to go through all the use cases here, mainly the important one, right? So the first one is a KYC onboarding, and Banco is one of the largest bank in Colombia, and it had implemented a comprehensive people identification solution using AWS services to enhance the compliance, security, and the governance for the customer onboarding. Next, you have loan origination, which is a PennyMac, which handles like millions of pages of mortgage documentations, right? They used ML services like Textract, which harvest the normalized data set from raw text documents, right? They also use the SageMaker to build a document pipeline, which seamlessly integrates with a larger ecosystem. Then we have Oak North, which is a financial fintech company focused on data analytics to provide better borrowing experience, right? So they used SageMaker again to generate new business opportunities and accelerate the lending transactions. Then we have Santander Bank, which is a famous and a one of the largest bank in UK. They have used SageMaker to cut down the customer onboarding cycle from 12 days down to the 2 days, right? And it also cut down the time by more than 50%, and they automated the manual compliance process, right? Then we have the last one is a NAB, right? NatWest Group, which has announced a collaborations with AWS using the generative AI solutions using the Bedrock, right? And using the Bedrock partnership, what they are doing is they are like innovating to co-create responsible AI products, building on the banking strategic relationship. And the collaboration is expected to enable the bank to provide more personalized recommendations, secure the financial assets to their customers, leveraging across our 5 pillars, which is like reliability, security, scalability, as well as expansion. So these are some of the use cases in the banking. If you look into the payment one, you name it, like we have like a big companies as well as the unicorn companies. Like so, Razor Pay uses the gateway and accepts validate internet cards, right? So what they have done is they have completed a migrations from one of the regions in APAC within less than 4 minutes downtime, and they reduce the latency by 400 milliseconds to about 10 milliseconds and supported 150% increase in the traffic. Then we have transaction monitoring by using the Travelex. It mainly uses for anti-money laundering. Affirm, which is a unicorn company in the fintech, wherein if you go to Amazon, we have pay after pay, right? So Affirm is one of the payment systems, right? So it uses ML across their data sets for the credit scoring as well as the decision making instantly for the customers. Then we have Nuva Data, which is uses an S3 data lake to store the customer data and analyze in a real time using the Kinesis. And they collect hundreds of data points and use to authenticate users and also to protect the customers from the fraud. Then we have Block, who was experiencing latency issues with the cloud-based contact center and was looking for a new solution. So they used Amazon Lex and Lambda to mitigate those latency uses. And the last one is a Tink, which is a leading European company that enables all the banks and the fintech startup to data-driven financial services. Right? So they use the ML SageMaker to train models and categorize the payment transactions. So these are some of the use cases and some of the companies who are currently using it with AWS in the payment system. Then we also have the capital market, and I see a few of the companies, few of the members here from the capital markets here. So if you look at the capital markets, right, the first one is Principal, right? And they have over 1 million calls. They use our Amazon services called Transcribe, Comprehend, and Bedrock to generate and summarize the detect topics and understand the sentiment across the customers. Then we have Bridgewater Associates, which use the Anthropic Claude to create a LLM-powered investment assistant that generates the charts, compute financial indicators, and create summaries and the results. I think Bloomberg is the only one that uses the current feed market data. They have their own LLM that they are using internally. I don't know if they try to monetize this or not, but their LLM is creating much more productivity for the Bloomberg, right? Then we have Vanguard, which has done most of the stuff, everything in the cloud, which includes your text summarization or entity recognition or the portfolios for the retirement ETFs, right? Then we have Fannie Mae, which uses ML in order to increase their catch rate and detect any potential troubled loans, right? Then the last one is FINRA, and FINRA is one of the largest data lake customer for us. They have like petabytes of data that's stored in AWS, and FINRA is one of the regulating company that regulates all the financial institutions, right? So they leverage NLP, including the test track and comprehend, to interpret any textual data from a large database. The reason to show the wide variety of use cases and different companies here is, right, it's not just one company that are using different services, right? It's a magnitude of companies, right, from the startups all the way from the big companies that are using our ML services. Just wanted to give the Vanguard cloud adoption journey, what they have done since last 9 to 10 years, right? So initially in 2015, after they choose the AWS as their primary provider after the reInvent 2015, and then they migrated most of their applications to AWS in the left-hand shift, and also some of their mainframe application, right? And then they designed the cloud platform into it. In 2018, they used our DevOps services to create the DevOps for their internal codes. And they also used our AWS service called a private link, which is like it communicates from one VPC to the other VPC using our private link, which a classic example is if you have any SaaS offering that you want to expose to the outside customer, we use the private link, right? Instead of going to the internet and coming back, the private link obviously exposes your VPC to the multiple customers outside, right? So they use the private link in their environment. In 2018, 2019, then they have the data migration services, and which is like they use the RDS, they use the DMS also to go from one database to the other database. In 2020, they started using our managed services like Amazon ECS or a Fargate for a serverless service that removes the need to the provision. And in 2021, they uses the ML and SageMaker to analyze the customer demographic goals depth to determine which investment vehicles, right? And they also started using personalized glide paths, which is a part of their life cycle investment model. And all of this, they reduce the competition cost from 5 million to less than 200K. That's like 90% of the savings, right? Lastly, on the line data, which is again one of the uh, uh, company, right? And it's an asset management company. So they had a problem where they wanted to use the AI to automate and improve the efficiency of investment compliance workflows for the asset management. So what they have done is they have used our innovation center to build a chat interface that uses LLM to answer any compliance user questions on key terms and the conditions on specific IMAs, right? They also use the RAG system using Kendra retrieval to provide referenceable references. And by using this, what was the impact that we made? They improved the efficiency and accuracy. They increased their scalability. And lastly, they expand explainable results for onboarding IMS, allowing the portfolio managers to more quickly to respond to the time sensitive. So these are some of the use cases that we have done on the capital markets and the banking. I will hand over to Vaibhav, who will provide the use cases on the insurance and also the demo on the insurance one.
So thanks, Prashant. So I'll cover the insurance use cases. I know at least most of the folks in the room are not from the insurance background, but I want you to think from the line at the end, the technological stack and the business objective you're trying to drive remains the same, right? The use case changes, right? So, and then I'll talk about some generative AI accelerators, which is an internal initiative. Customers like you adopt and drive use case more quickly because at the end, it's the development and the solution that you're going to code brings the value, right? And then I'll show you that in action as well. So across the horizon, like in insurance use cases, think about like product and services that you're selling. Even in banking, like you're selling products, you're selling services in some form or the other. So generative AI can help you sort of analyze data and trends that you're getting from your marketplace, social media, sentiments, feedback from your customer. Use that to develop and enhance your product catalog, right? It also, your users or customers will have profiles with you. So what you could do is basically understand, their information, understand what kind of products they're buying from you, and then basically use that data, use that information to provide sort of bundle deals, right? Like in case of insurance, if someone's buying auto, they probably need home insurance or renter's insurance as well. So similarly, think about that, like how within your own vertical of banking or payments, or how you can use your customers' personal data to just give them recommendations uh, uh, that could add value in their lives. Certain challenges that we see, especially across insurance, is a lot to do with underwriting and claims processing. So this takes a lot of time, and I would like to sort of give you like thought-provoking action, like where do you think this fits into banking, payments, capital markets, which industry you're coming from, where similar to underwriting, where underwriters have to gather information from a lot of unstructured data, right? Like unstructured documents, multiple sources, and they have to go through that data to finally create a policy or generate a policy, right? Similarly for claims processing, a lot of claims coming with auto claim, homeowners claim, wherever it's coming from. Claim adjusters have to process a lot of data. Like they have to analyze the claims. They have to compare with their policies and procedures internally. And then finally, somewhere there's a senior claims officer sitting and making that decision of approving that claim. So there's a lot of back end resources that have been utilized, a lot of time that's been wasted. So where generative AI could add value is automating a lot of piece of that, right? Where you can consolidate that structured and unstructured data, make sense out of that data by either summarizing it, extracting the exact information that you need coming from those claims, and then uh, it's not going to basically assess the risk for you or make that decision for you, which you could do it. But at least consolidate that information, extract the right data, summarize the right data, and help whoever is reviewing it make that decision, right? So going to the earlier point, it's not going to replace jobs, but it's going to be a fantastic tool to increase the productivity of claims officer, underwriting officer, and reduce significant number of time, right? Similarly, for actual technology platforms and so on, leveraging it in DevSecOps, right? Automating, generating code. So we have something called Amazon Q. I don't want to dive deep into it, but think of it as a Copilot equivalent, right? So it helps you generate code. It takes away even the knowledge base is part of it, right? So all you do is you bring your data, you integrate your data wherever it is. It integrates with 40 plus products and services, right? So integrate that source documentations where it's coming. You don't even have to choose the model. Amazon Q does that for you, right? It's doing all that in the backend. You just integrate the data. You do not even have to care about vector database, choosing and managing vector database. So you just pick the source data connector and then use Amazon Q, right? So it does, it helps you automate knowledge bases. From a DevSecOps perspective, it helps you automate like generate code and all that, and automate a lot of DevOps pipeline in the backend, like building, testing, doing a lot of unit testing, providing recommendations from that front. Many financial services company, they are using a lot of legacy products and like a lot of mainframe, a lot of COBOL coding over there. So you could leverage generative AI to basically help you do that conversion from going to something like COBOL or C to do code transformation to more cloud like Java, Python, and like more modern languages. It also does a lot of upgrades, right? So I'll go through the examples, like how different customers are leveraging it, but across the horizon, like that's how you could, and this can be industry agnostic, right? A lot of financial services customers, and even outside of that, have old code, like COBOL code, a lot of old form of databases, right? Any kind of conversion, SQL conversion, Java upgrades could be possible using generative AI. All right, so I won't go through all of the examples. We are short of time, and also want to give you demos. So Athene is, again, one of the insurance customers of ours, and what they're doing is they're leveraging Amazon Bedrock and agents to sort of do mapping of their data and knowledge bases, and using that to improve employee productivity. So a lot of business analysts, they have to dig into the structured and unstructured data. They were wasting a lot of time in analyzing that, making sense of that data for their business users. A lot of that they have automated using agents and agents for Amazon Bedrock. Then we have Elements Health as well, right? They have automated over 80% of their claims processing using tech stack. And to the earlier use cases where I was pointing, it is difficult, it is hard, it's time consuming to make sense of the documents and the data that you're making, extracting the information you need so that you can send it to like downstream services or your employees who are actually making decisions out of that. So Elements Health, they basically ended up using Amazon Tech Stack as an OCR tool to synthesize the data, to extract the data, and automate a lot of claims processing using that. So they have done over 80%, they have automated over 80% of claims processing in their business. Similarly, like there are a lot of chatbot sort of use cases, right, which you could use to improve digital experience for your customers. So John Hancock is leveraging a lot of that. Again, they're using it for their backend, like contact center, where the agents are taking the calls, and whatever customer questions they're having, they're basically putting it, like automating it using either chatbot, so that all that information is pre-filled, like a self-help kind of use cases, where if I have to file a claim, right, instead of going through hoops and loops of making calls and going through that information, all my information is there with the customer profile. I will log in. They know what kind of policies I have. If I'm filing from a claim, is the claim that I'm filing for is covered as part of my policy. So a lot of that could be done using self-help, self-service sort of use cases, and that's where chatbots could be of help, and that's where John Hancock is leveraging use cases like that. Then there's State Auto Insurance as well. They were able to reduce or early detect their fraud by 3 days. Again, by leveraging a lot of generative AI sort of features, where they see a common pattern, a common trend that have been already detected from their past data. They could use that data, feed it to the models, and then the models can proactively look for similar kind of frauds for the new claims coming in. So they were able to do that. They were able to improve it and detect fraud as early as 3 days before than they used to earlier. So this is how customers are leveraging across the space, be it claims, document processing, underwriting, fraud detection, and so on. So I'll just skip through it because I just talked through it as well. So I'll talk about generative AI accelerators. So this is an internal, we have 7 minutes remaining. So this is an internal initiative that, we assays have taken, especially in the FSI space, where when we talk to customers about these use cases, they're like, okay, this is good, but how do I get started? Like, how do I now use it and actually deploy it in my account, right? And that's where we came up with accelerators, with this combination of assets. Think about it as an architecture diagram, as you can see it on screen. A demo, how about you could see some demo, like in 2 minutes, give you like the business use case, and this is how you could solve the problem. And then also give you a GitHub code, like, hey, deploy it in your account, test it out, see what makes sense for you, and do at least a POC internally with your teams, right? So we have built several accelerators that has helped insurance and FSI customers in the last 6 months, right? I will be just highlighting the most common ones that I see customers asking us. Intelligent document processing. I literally had someone ping while in the room, a customer in Germany asking like, hey, can we get started with this intelligent document processing? And I was just able to share a link with the essay with all this information, right? And it's easier to scale across, industries. So intelligent document processing, right? Very similar to OCR. You have a bunch of documents, you are ingesting it to your data store, and then you are sending it for further processing. So this is where we are using Amazon Bedrock, right? Where we are using those documents, ingesting it in either directly into Bedrock or text stack if it needs to do some processing, let's say PDF to text conversion, right? So, and then using that text to feed into Bedrock models, and then extracting key information, key data points, right? What's the policy number? Or in case of banking, what's the account number, right? When was the claim filed, right? And what amount it was filed for, so on. Extracting all that key information and then sending further to downstream services for processing. So we were able to test it out with a bunch of insurance and mutual fund forms. Some of them were handwritten, some of them were printed, some of them were like using crossouts and so on, because that's what happens in real life, right? Documents are complicated, they're not simple. So we were able to test with various kind of forms and documents and leverage Bedrock's Claude 3 model for data point extraction and summarization and so on. Secondly, claims processing. Again, we built a front end using AppSync. We leverage other serverless services to store all that information. But we're able to, again, leverage. If you see the technical stack remains the same. At the end, we're using something like TechStack and Amazon Bedrock to extract the document or to convert the PDF to text and then feed it to the Bedrock model and do some prompt engineering to make sense of that data that we are feeding it, right? So we did that similarly for claims processing, where claims are coming in, right? And extracting all that information. And this was able to reduce, and we again tested out with auto claims, home, medical, and so on. So we tested out with different claims for claims that are coming in and having it summarized, like what was the overall claim about, right? The amount, where did it happen, when did it happen, and so on. And then again, extracting key information and sending it to downstream services. And I will show you all this demo in this brief moment. Improving digital experience is, again, something I talked about in previous slides, right? Leveraging services, not just GenAI, but traditional services like Lex and so on, where you could leverage chatbot, ask questions, and then it feeds to the model. It looks in your documentation and responds back to your customer. So with that, I'll quickly show you a couple of demos and actually show all this in action. All right. So first is around intelligent document processing. I have filled out this is insurance claim form, and if you see, some of that is redacted, right? So this is to give you an idea that a lot of information will be PII data. So if that's something that you don't want to show it to your employees or to your downstream services, you could use redaction techniques as well, where it will just show like, okay, this was an address and not show the actual address. But if you want to extract the address or name and so on, this is exactly where you could go, like, use something like extraction. And these are the forms, right? This has telephone number, this has street, this has name from the health insurance claim form. And you could see all these numbers have been extracted, right? Insurance ID, name of the person who's filing it, address, contact information, and so on. So we are exactly extracting the fields that we need, which we think it's as business use case. We could do also a lot of Q&A, like ask questions to that document and get response from that, right? So some pre-filled questions, right? What is the patient's chief complaint? So this basically summarizes what issue the patient had, and then let's try it out. Like, what is the insurance ID number? So it gives the ID number. So this gives you a good chatbot style conversation that you could make and talk to the documents or talk to the claims information that you are showing. Similarly, right, if you want to try something else, right, you could, this is for claims processing. If you have a new claim coming in, you could drag and drop the claim here. And I played around with for a while, so I will simply go into that. All right. So I submitted an auto claim, right? And this is the auto insurance form that I submitted. I go on the summarization tab, and it basically summarizes that, okay, this motor vehicle was a 2016 Honda Civic driven by this person, right? And the accident occurred on this date, at this time, at this address, right? And it said like, okay, there was a potential impairment by drugs or alcohol that was conducted by the officer at site, right? So all this information, instead of going through several pages of claim and finding that, you could just have it as a summary. Field extraction, right? Again, extracting the license number, all those key information, right? Instead of going through the claims documents and risking the manual errors that could happen, this could get you the information that you need. It also generates fraud scenarios. So it knows that this is an auto claim. So what potential frauds based on the past information that the model has seen could result, and probably whoever is processing that claims should look for scenarios like this. So this does not detect like, okay, this is fraud or not, but just helps the claim adjuster to go through certain scenarios. Now, this could be done in banking, loans, payments. The use cases are endless, right? And with the last one, chatbot, right? So let me log in. So this is for digital experience for your customers, right? Log out of it and start a new conversation, right? So I have created my profile here with some home information and all that. Now, this is how generative AI could be leveraged, where you could use profiles and then recommend products and services to the customers and also improve their digital experience overall. So let's say I'm logging in using my ID and PIN. So it has all the information around home that I had previously filed. So now I'm requesting auto quote, right? And filling information like, okay, I need auto coverage, all of it, right? Comprehensive liability. All right, estimated value of the car. So you could put information like that. So I'm asking some basic questions, but obviously the questions could go even more detailed. And let's say that's the mileage I put on my car. No. And then I would like to start the policy right away, August 14th. So it confirms, like, no matter what date I put, it puts in the right format. And I just have to do the confirmation. And it basically generates a link that has all this information. Let's say if I just download it and show it to you. So you see it generates all that codes, all that information that it's sent. You could send it to downstream services. So whoever is creating the policies can directly review this information, or also to any automatic process that you have generated or created to create policies out of it. So this is basically the art of possible that you could leverage. So this provides a better digital experience for our customers. Instead of spending hours on the call and giving all that information, they could simply ingest that documentation, like that information, leverage GenAI, Bedrock, and so on to automate a lot of that task. So that's it. I know we are a little over time, but I just wanted to show you the art of possible of the use cases across FSI industries and how you could get started with the accelerators.